There, however, is another mode, and it's a mode that until recently has not received really any attention at all in the NASA community, and the mode is not signals, but artifacts. And in 1976, during the unmanned mission to Mars, the Viking mission, lo and behold, on frame 35A72, taken on an afternoon on Mars of a northern Martian desert called Cydonia, we, the human race, NASA, the United States of America, the American people who paid for the mission, spotted and noted an enigmatic artifact that did not belong, the so-called face on Mars. Now, many things have happened in the ensuing years, but I wanted to show you the original data to show you how far we have come, because, of course, the official response when this photograph was first presented to the media and to the world was that it was, in fact, a trick of light and shadow. Well, from that has come an investigation, some books, some videos, a lot of discussion, and we are here this afternoon. Now, this is a computer-enhanced version of exactly the same image done 15, 16 years later. Notice the remarkable level of detail, cross lines on the forehead, scalloping on the left side here, the suggestion of teeth in the mouth, deep-set eyes. But again, if we only had one picture, we would never know if, as NASA has said consistently for 16 years, this was merely the most marvelous trick of erosion on the surface of any planet, or, in fact, was something else. For that, you require another set of data, such as this. This is now a second frame taken 35 days after the first frame. And DiPietro and Molinari, two imaging engineers at the Goddard Space Flight Center who got into this very early on in 79 and 80, they were the ones, not NASA, to cull through the 60,000 Viking images in the archives and to find this picture. And when they processed it, lo and behold, this object turned out to be remarkably bilaterally symmetric. Now, we mean by that it seems to have a left and a right half. There appear to be two eye sockets, the mouth goes through, the hairline appears to go around, there's proportion symmetry, about 95%. Now, facial expressions we see in mountains or in landscapes here on Earth are inevitably perspective shots, profiles, where if you move 100 meters one way or the other, they go away. What made this different was it was a frontal, full-on facial view, as if you were looking at yourself in some kind of cosmic mirror. And maybe that's a telling metaphor for exactly what this was intended to be, if and when we climbed up the ladder to space flight, journeyed across space to Mars, and looked down and saw it staring back. Time will tell. Well, from that beginning, my entry into this was when I got a set of these photographs from DiPietro Molinari in the early 80s, and I tell all this in Monuments, so I won't go into any great detail, but what really provoked me about the problem was not only the remarkable detail in their analysis, in their image processing, because they were experts at bringing data out of digital tapes, but the fact that very nearby on the landscape, there appeared to be a collection of pyramidal forms. And it's strikingly obvious that these, whatever their origin, they're pyramidal. Now, mountains can be pyramidal. Totally for sure. Mountains can be pyramidal. The interesting thing about these mountains seemed to be that they lay at a 90-degree angle to the center line of the face on Mars. And that, of course, would have afforded them the best view possible out across this level, high desert landscape in the northern deserts at a place on Mars called Cydonia. Well, I'd like to show you a short piece of video at the end of this long analysis done by Dr. Mark Carlotto, who was one of our imaging scientists who unfortunately could not be here this afternoon. Dr. Carlotto has done some stunning 3D graphics and renditions of the original 2D data, making use of state-of-the-art algorithms and technology. We have brought in a lot of experts over the years as part of this loose confederation of scientists and engineers. And the bottom line is that we're trying to apply the best rigors of scientific analysis to a problem that for an awful lot of folks at first blush appears to be beyond the pale of science. So if I could have screen on. I'm interrupting our UN briefing for a moment because for the last 9 years, the argument has raged regarding the reality of this object as a constructed artifact. Well, our focus has now begun to shift. We're looking more at the meaning of this object, including a possible connection with the Earth. For those of you who may not have been following our investigation, however, including our recent briefings at NASA Lewis, for instance, I would like to emphasize some of that compelling evidence. The key to our apparently successful solution to the riddle of Cydonia, which is the name of the region on Mars where Viking initially photographed the face, turned out not to be the face at all, but a 2-mile-long, half-mile-high, 5-sided pyramid located a few miles away. It was Eero Torin, our team member on loan from the Defense Mapping Agency, who cracked the code, because Torin found, when measuring the internal geometry of the D&M pyramid, that it contains incredible geometric structure, fundamental mathematical constants, which in the universe are the key to signifying the presence of intelligence. That's why we term this object the Rosetta Stone of Cydonia. Imagine my intense gratification as I remeasured the relationships between all the so-called anomalous objects we had previously identified grouped around the face and discovered the identical geometry to the D&M, including multiple examples of identical mathematical constants. It was at this point that we began to worry less about the ultimate reality of the so-called face on Mars and more about the meaning of the message of Cydonia. If there was a deliberate meaning behind the incredible geometry now displayed by the monuments of Mars, what could be the meaning? Well, it turns out to center on this figure. This is a 4-sided, 4-cornered object termed a tetrahedron. And I predict you're going to be hearing a lot more about this object in the years ahead. Because if you put this structure in a sphere, it predicts some remarkable phenomena. For if you put a hypothetical tetrahedra in a planet, the tips touch inside at a key latitude. And at those latitudes, something significant occurs. Watch.